That's okay. You can join us when he gets back. So, what I figured we'd start with, since first session and all, is just some quick out of character who everybody is as a player, not necessarily as a character. We can do the who your characters are in game, but just so everybody sort of knows who everybody is. Cool.
Yeah, it works for me.
So I guess I'll start, and then we can just go around. We can go in like the order of character portraits, I guess, at the top of the screen, and just I guess who we are and experience with D&D and Fantasy Grounds and that kind of thing. Set some context. Anything else you want to add? So I'm James. I go by Door. Been playing D&D for a long time, off and on, but it's been like 10 years since I've run a game, and I've never run a game in Fantasy Grounds. So this should be good times. But super jazzed.
I'm Tyler. I usually go by Alton or Somali. Never done anything in Fantasy Grounds, but years ago I did a lot of Shadowrun and Warhammer Fantasy.
My name is Aaron. It's been like probably about 4 or 5 years since I've played D&D. Played mostly like D&D, Pathfinder, and the like. I haven't used Fantasy Grounds in forever.
We're just doing intros, Wappa. So it's your turn. You just caught up. So just sort of who you are and what your experience is with D&D and Fantasy Grounds, and hey, what's up?
So I'm a real estate agent. That's pretty much what I do most days. Haven't played D&D since I was probably a teenager. Played a couple of games with Dor and Pug here in Fantasy Grounds, and yeah, that's about it.
Hey, I'm Sam. I think I may be the only East Coast person. I don't know. So it's not morning for me. It's afternoon. I didn't have to struggle to get in, to wake up. I was already up. I haven't played D&D in a while until about 2-3 months ago. Some friends of mine and I that we used to play when we were in high school decided we'd try it now that we all live in different cities, grab Fantasy Grounds. And I've been DMing that group. Never did DMing before, so we've been plunking our way through learning Fantasy Grounds. And, I still don't know all the 5e rules, so I may have to ask as we go along.
Cool. I'm James, also James, the other James. I go by Pug. I used to play a lot of like 3.5 way back in the day when I was in high school. I haven't played much 5 yet, maybe a session. And then pretty new to Fantasy Grounds as well.
Awesome. So a few things that are similar between all of us. We're all old dudes. None of us have played a ton of D&D in the recent past, and none of us are like super experienced with Fantasy Grounds or the 5e rule set, it sounds like. So we'll all sort of like muddle through together, which is good. Also, yeah, Sam, West Coast, Best Coast, clearly.
Okay.
No Coast is where it's at.
Here.
Yeah, I was gonna say Alton isn't West Coast. It's Chicago, right? So it's very central.
All right, so unless anyone has any questions or anything, I guess we can just jump in game. We'll do a little intro and we'll dive in.
Can I get a round of names one more time just for my notes? I know I call it Fitz is Tyler. Amir was James. Logan is Wappa, but also
Josh.
Thank you. And then Torgrim is
Sam.
Thank you.
A dude who takes notes. I dig it. Party scribe.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And if anyone hasn't used that feature in Fantasy Grounds before, you should have a notes tab on the right-hand side. And you can create your own notes and take any notes you want to about the session or NPC names or stuff you're supposed to do or Whatever you want, Sandy. Okay. So let's jump in then. So I'll set the scene. It is late afternoon, and it's the first week of spring, the last day of the first week of spring. So Gundren Rockseeker, the dwarf who hired you all, has called you here to Triboar to meet today with the other people that'll be your companions for the next couple of weeks. The weather is pretty chill and dreary. The road's muddy. It's been raining. It's definitely spring in Triboar. So Gundren has rented a private dining room on the first floor of a little inn in Triboar. It's a nice stately place called it's called the North Shield House. And it's next door to the Lion's Share, which is the general store and the wagon yard and the offices for the Lion Shield Coster here in Triboar. And Lion Shield Coster is the company that Gundren's on the board of, and that's ostensibly going to be paying all your wages. So as you show up to the meeting place at the North Shield, we can talk through what order everybody comes in as. The proprietor will show you back to the back room. She's a dark-skinned older woman named Ergala, introduces herself and shows you to the back room. And there's a long square table. It's set with meats and cheeses and bread and butter. And there's flagons of ale and wine and chairs sat around the table. There's a nice fire burning in the hearth, so it's nice and warm to drive off the chill. But a nice place to get to know everybody. So who's very punctual? Who gets here first?
I aim to be there 15 minutes early.
Cool. And as you guys show up, go ahead and just go through the list and as you show up and just sort of describe yourself physically, right? What you look like and what other people will see as they walk into the room and notice you.
Would I be the first one there?
I think so. Nobody else is claiming they got there much earlier than that, so I think you're good to go.
Okay. You'd see a silver-haired half-elf who's a little bit skinnier, even for a half-elf, with a kind of a tight grin constantly on his face, and an arrow-flame kind of pencil-thin mustache, wearing fine clothes. Usually in greens and blues. Subject to change.
Amir would be pretty on time as well. So just to describe him, he'd be quite tall for a dwarf, fairly noble of appearance. If he's dressed in his battle garb is one thing, but he's probably dressed in finery or his travel clothes for this occasion. He has a sigil on his finger. His beard is actually fairly short for a dwarf. It's like just past the chin a little bit, and he has 2 braids that hang down that are wound with stone beads with dwarven runes on them. Pale skin, widow's peak, silver throughout his hair and beard, deep set blue eyes.
All right, we'll go with the dwarf theme and have the other dwarf come in behind him. Torgrim he's also tall for a dwarf, 5'2", but he's on the thinner side. He's not quite as bulky as most dwarves. He's not going to be wearing his battle gear either, so he comes in clothes that look like workman's clothes, some scorch marks here and there on them. He's got real dark skinned, mocha skin, and his eyes are the most striking feature. They are gold, and he does walk confidently despite his common garb.
If you were to observe Fitz walking in, he's very average looking, small and seemingly a little frail at about 5'1" and about 110 pounds. Just a generally very average looking person, dark brown hair, sort of ruddy face, not unattractive, but not anything that would really warrant a second glance. And he's wearing just very generic, simple clothes.
And Alton is Fitz half elven, correct?
Fifth is a half elf, right?
Yeah.
Can you not hear Pug?
Oh, he did. He pressed his mic and then released it too quick, but I got it. That's good.
Oh, yes, he is.
Discord's annoying like that. The push to talk, you have to like hold it with some delay sometimes.
Yeah, there's a setting feature for that.
I think that makes Logan last.
So Logan's pretty battle scarred, relatively tall, kind of a big guy. He's a full-blown wood elf. Seen a lot of battles. Recently lost most of his friends in a attack up in the mountains. They've been kind of hiding out. I don't know if anybody read that backstory or not. I'm sure we'll share that later, but probably pretty muddy. He's been trekking his way down the road trying to catch up to some people he's looking for. So, pretty jacked up, battle scarred, older looking wood elf, long brown hair. Nothing something only a mother could love at this point.
Oof.
Okay, great. So, short on the heels of Logan, two more people walk in. One is Gundren himself, who you've all met. He's average height for a dwarf. Brown hair and beard. Dressed well in furs. Carries his pipe and smokes on it idly. Here's a picture. Following behind Gundren is another man, a human, probably in his mid to late 40s, balding, brown mustache. He's dressed in pretty simple workman's clothes. Follows Gundren in, takes a chair, and goes immediately for the flagon of ale and pours himself some. Gundren moves to the head of the table, looks around, looks like he's counting everyone.
Mir will probably walk towards him and just signal some sort of dwarven signal of like greeting, but not really say much. Get himself something from the flagon as well, and then sit at the table and wait.
He nods back and returns your gesture.
Doleman grabs a flagon and joins the table as well.
Torgrim just sits down. No flagon for him at this point. Just steeples his hands in front of himself.
Fitz also just sits down, just trying to sort of observe everything that's going on and not draw any attention to himself.
Okay, great.
Logan tries to take a seat with his back to the wall, with his face towards the door. Also grabs a flagon of mead.
All right, cool. As everyone settles themselves in, Gundren gives a big smile. Well, I'm glad everyone could make it. It seems like we're all here. This is my associate, Durbin. Durbin, say hello. And the man who sat down and immediately poured himself some ale, the human man, he gestures with his mug at everyone and smiles.
I greet him back. What is? Sorry, I missed. What Durbin? You said Durbin was a human male.
Yeah, human man, mid to late 40s, balding, brown mustache, a little unshaven.
Does he have the look of like a mercenary or somebody who would be like handy in a fight, or is he just kind of like, what's his kind of general demeanor?
Fair to say he lounges confidently. The way he moves, he looks like a fighting man.
I raise my flagon and greeting.
Torgrin inclines his head slightly.
Meteor would probably speak up. His bass voice kind of trembles a bit. He's kind of deep, soothing voice. Quite the company we have. Just kind of greet with my flagon as well.
Fitz just gives us a soft nod.
Logan just stares at him.
Indeed, quite the company. And quite the task to perform. Well, I don't see any point in wasting time. We'll get started. And he pulls out from under his tunic, he pulls out a map from an inside pocket. A large map, and he spreads it out on the table. Or at least he does as soon as I can find it. There we go. Everybody get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, he spreads the map out on the table, and he smooths it down with his hands. This, gentlemen, is our objective. The Blackwater Vale. Now, as you know, to get between Triboar, where we are now, and the coast, the high road, Waterdeep, Neverwinter, requires days or weeks going around, down the long road or north to Mirabar. But what I mean to do is cut a path across. Through this trail you can see, and he points out the trail on the map, heading west from Triboar. It's not an easy road. To get there, we'll have to send the wagons over a high mountain pass, past the shores of the Crystal Lake, then they'll follow the rushing river until it joins with the South Fork of the Neverwinter, here, and he points to where the rivers join. From there, the wagons will follow the Blackwater all the way down until they reach the high road. The land they'll have to travel has been rarely traveled by men these last 250 years, thanks to that thrice-damned dragon, but it's worth it. We'll save time, we'll save taxes, and there's gold and opportunity to be had, mining in the mountains, and he smiles at everyone, and other things. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I know all of you, but you don't know each other. Please, a round of introductions. And he motions to Durbin first. Durbin, get us started. Durbin just raises his flagon. I'm Durbin. And he looks at everyone and smiles. Then he looks to the person next to him.
I'll say that's Amir. Amir will lean forward, steeple his fingers. I'm Amir, Stoneheart of Clan Goldspire. Greetings all.
Torgrim unsteeples his fingers and says, well, we'll follow up with another dwarf then. I'm Torgrim Blackstone. I'm merely a mason, a smith, not a high class person as Amir is. I bring fighting skills and casting skills to the party.
More dwarves are always welcome, Gundren chuckles. No prejudice against the rest of you, my friends, of course.
Amir will laugh at that.
No offense taken. I am a Dolaman Whisperwind, entertainer and fortune seeker.
I am Fitz. You can just call me Fitz. I'm here to do what needs to be done. No less and no more.
My name's Logan. I'm here looking for my friends.
You hit on the point of it, Logan. You all have different reasons for being here, I know. But I hope that one of those is the opportunity. Now, some of you are looking for your friends, and we'll talk more about that soon. But either way, treat this job I'm giving you now as a trial, if you like. For those who do well and who are interested in future work, there's more to be done. I mean to see the Vale become civilized again. I mean to see it prosper. And there will be places for all who are interested. Now, let's talk through what we have to do. He smooths the map down a little bit more on the table, and he pulls out another map. And he lays it down over top of the first. This is the Stone Valley. It's the first leg of the journey to the high road. Now, I mean to send a caravan over the mountains as soon as the snows have cleared and my last shipment gets here from Yartar. It'll probably be a week or maybe 2. It's important that this first shipment of the year goes smoothly, so that I can convince the coster that it's worth investing the resources to continue. Now, what I need from all of you is to go ahead of me and to take care of a few things, make sure my road is clear. Durbin here has been there before. He'll show you as far as the pass and guide you through. Now,
Sorry, Amir will kind of lean forward and look at the map. The settlement near the lake. What is this place?
it's a village called Crystal Shores. It's the first stop where we'll build the first rest point for the caravans on their way toward the Blackwater. It's a small fishing village. This whole area was abandoned, maybe 250 years ago when orcs swept through. The lords never returned, but a few people did. They're isolated villages in the Stone Valley. Just a few thatched houses on the shores of the lake. Now, there are 3 things that I'd ask you to do. First, scout the pass between here and the Stone Valley. It is the beginning of spring, and my scouts have told me that the snows have thawed enough to make it through the mountains, but it is a high pass. So I need you to make sure that there's no rock slides and that the caravan can make it. 2. In Crystal Shores, I sent a woman named Mylene Akmard last year over the pass with a group of adventurers to establish the caravan stop next to the lake. We'll use that to repair and to to rest the horses, to rest the horses before we continue the journey. I need you to make sure that Mylene has set up the caravan stop appropriately and that she's ready for our arrival. And third, and I know this concerns several of you, the party of adventurers that I sent with Mylene was to continue past Crystal Shores, along the rushing river in the Blackwater to a little town called Phandelver. It's near the high road in the Blackwater Vale. There's no law there yet. Men have just started to return these last couple of years, and they were to guard the town over the winter until a friend of mine in the Lord's Alliance could arrange for a more official guard capacity there in the town. They left just before winter with Mylene, but I've heard word they never made it. I'd like you to find what happened to them, if you can. They could be frozen on the pass or absconded with my gold or gods know what. When you've completed these things, return to Crystal Shores and wait for me. I'll join you with the first caravan, and we'll make our way to Phandelver from there. Questions?
Out of character real quick. Mylene, so we know that Mylene made it, or is she lost with the party as well?
Unknown if Mylene made it or not.
Okay. Mir will kind of lean forward again, look around to make sure he's not interrupting anybody, and then he speaks. No major questions from me, although I suspect we'll have further things to discuss once we've made it to the first city. Is there a way for us to send a message back to you if something happens along the way?
Not easily, I'm afraid. Durbin could potentially return to me with a message if needed.
And I'll look to Durbin. How familiar are you with the Vale? Have you just crossed the pass, or do you know the lands around the lake as well?
He leans back in his chair. Well, I've been over the pass. I've been down into the Stone Valley into Crystal Shores once or twice, but no farther than that.
Okay. Amir is satisfied. He nods. Good enough for me.
I'm sure we have all heard the talk, but what is the veracity and truthfulness of this possible black dragon?
Torben lifts his eyes and looks at intently at everyone as this is asked.
Yeah, Amir will look to Gundren.
Gundren spits on the floor in disgust. Oh, she was real, all right, the bitch. Dread Shadow, they called her, came with the orcs. Swarmed over the Stone Valley, the Blackwater Vale, and shortly thereafter much of the north. Near put fire to Neverwinter itself. Even Waterdeep came under siege, but that was hundreds of years ago. She stayed confined to the Vale. No one returned after the orcs were defeated, for fear of the dragon, but, well, there are 2 signs that she's dead, and there's no dragon to worry about anymore. The first sign, and he smiles. The first sign is that men have returned to Phandelver in the Vale, and they haven't yet been melted down to their bones. They've been there 2-3 winters now, nary a sign of the dragon to be seen. The other reason to think that she troubles us no more, and he looks around at everyone, well, you'll have to trust me. Let's just say I'm confident she's dead.
Could I make an insight check to see, like, if he's just trying to put on airs or if he's, like, actually sure of himself?
You totally can. Roll insight in the tower.
Where's the town?
It should be in the bottom right of the game map, a little tower-looking thing. You just drop the roll on that instead of the chat box.
Oh, okay.
And what that does is it shows me your roll, but it doesn't show you your roll. So generally I'll ask you guys to roll things in the tower if what you're rolling is not something that you would necessarily know whether you succeeded or failed immediately, right? Like if you're trying to jump over a chasm, you don't need to roll that in the tower. You'll know right away if you didn't make it because you'll fall.
Okay.
But things like, is someone lying, or do you see something that you're looking for, that kind of thing, usually the tower. All right, cool.
I rolled in the tower, and that's with a +4.
All right. To all appearances, Gundren seems totally genuine. He seems confident in what he's talking about, and you don't detect any hint of deception.
Okay.
Yeah, Mir's not likely to double guess his line of thinking. He trusts them to be honorable. So he'll just put on the rest of his flag in, and then set it back on the table and look about the room and ask, what preparations does the company need to make before we depart?
I'm glad you asked. You leave first thing in the morning, weather permitting. Now, all simple supplies can be provided by the coster. Just down the street is the Lion's Share. It's our outpost here in Triboar. You can requisition any supplies you need there, within reason. The coster will also be paying 5 gold per week to cover your foodstuffs, and 50 gold pieces for each of you for the task at hand. 15 now, another 35 on arrival in Phandelver. Other than that, your preparations are your own, provided you're ready to leave in the morning. All of you have beds here at the North Shield, paid for by the coster.
It's very generous of them.
Well, it's in my best interest you get good rest. I don't intend to lose another party on the trail.
And Dylan smiles and nods.
He puts coins on the table and starts distributing the early payout.
So he's 15 gold now, 30 when we reach the city. Is that correct?
15 now, 35 in Phandelver.
I do have a question. If we discover your previous group is being held somewhere, are we to try to free them or just bring back word of where they are?
Gundren nods thoughtfully, thinking.
Mir leans forward again and looks to Torgrim. It'll be on me to free them if we do find them alive. I have stake and interest in their well-being.
As do I.
With a wry smile, Torgrim goes, well, that's settled then.
Gundren smiles. Yes, I think for some of you, this isn't just a job. That said, use your judgment. If you can free them, do it. But if they're being held by 1,000 orcs, well, think it through. You won't save their lives by spending your own.
Emir will kind of laugh. It sounds almost uncharacteristic from his kind of dour demeanor. But what a tale that would be. So much orc blood to spill.
God send there's no orcs left in the Stone Valley. Men have been there for many years. Once we make it to the Vale, well, who knows?
Emir will kind of look around the room and just speak very softly. Orcs or not, there are fell things in those mountains, I assure you.
Durbin speaks up. They don't call it the Stone Valley for nothing, you know. Giants, they say. Stone giants up in the hills.
Adolman takes a sip from his flag and to avoid looking nervous.
Gundren makes a motion towards Durbin. Don't scare anyone, Durbin. The villages in the valley have been populated for hundreds of years with no problem. It isn't until we get to the Vale that the real wilds start. The The Stone Valley is isolated, but it's safe enough. He looks around.
Amir will kind of stand up and look about the room to make sure nobody else has anything to chime in with. And if nobody does, so feel free to chime in if you do. After I say this, he'll start gathering his things and look to start preparing for the journey.
There are no more questions then. Oh, go ahead, Torben.
Oh, no, I was just Torgrim nods at him. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I thank you for
It's
heeding
not-
the call. Go ahead, Fitz. Sorry.
I said Fitz nods as well.
Okay, cool. One more thing before you leave. And Gundren reaches down and grabs his flagon and raises it over his head. A toast, all of you.
The Dolman raises for the toast.
Amir grabs his empty flagon and raises it all the same. We should have a name for our company. An unnamed company is ill-fated.
Logan stands up and lifts his.
Torgrim will grab a flagon to participate in the toast.
Gundren smiles and looks at everyone. To the reclaiming of what was lost, and the coin we'll fill our purses with along the way, eh? May Duin find your trail and guard you safely to journey's end. He takes a big gulp of his flagon.
Amir will whisper out a prayer to Duin as well and just nod and kind of shake the flagon.
Gundren chuckles. Dwarves that don't drink. What's this world coming to? And he laughs.
Oh, I do drink, sir. I just downed my flagon before you.
Torgrim wipes suds from his mustache.
Dolman's tight grin splits into a broad smile, and he downs the rest of his flagon.
Logan finishes his drink, sets his flagon down, and grabs a loaf of bread and shoves it in his pocket.
Fitz
Pretty
again
smart.
nods his head and starts to make for the door.
Yeah, Amir says one last thing. He says, I'll be back here later this evening, maybe in the Commons, if anybody wants to speak before I go to bed. But for now, I'm going to prepare. Suggest the rest of you do the same. Buy whatever supplies you need. The trip will be treacherous.
That sounds like a good idea, and that will give me time to perhaps think on a suggestion for an adventure company.
Durbin, sitting at the edge of the table, when everyone else took a sip of their flagon, chugged his, and then poured another. And as he pours, he says, I'll see you all in the morning in the wagon yard behind the lion's share. Get to bed early. Dawn comes early here.